Easy. All right. There we go. All right. Easy.
Oh.
Easy. There he is. So we've got an idea. All right. Okay, now look. He's fixing to. Wait,
Oh, man.
You're fine, baby.
Hey guys, we just got back from an amazing adventure down to Louisiana doing an alligator hunt. Or fishing, I guess, a combination of both. A good friend of ours and dog client, Tim, and his family invited us down and was an amazing host. We got down there and he already had lines set, poles set, bait all ready to go. And when we got there, we got an opportunity to go out, see the property, check the lines, and see if we had caught an alligator. This is something that I've never done before. Ethan actually has gone alligator hunting before, so he had an idea about what we were getting into. But this time, it was kind of my turn to shine. So the first day we went out and we're checking lines. We checked some lines from the bank, we checked some lines from the boat, and I will tell you people, going on the boat through some of these swampy areas was incredible. It felt like we were on a safari out in the middle of nowhere, a little sketchy at times. We actually lost the kill switch at one point in time to the boat and had to MacGyver and Jimmy rig up a situation so that we could keep using the boat because we still had plenty of lines to check. And so the first day that we were down there, we went down and we checked all of the poles and saw where they were set up. And some of the poles you could check from land, some of the poles you could not check other than through the swamp, basically. And the way that this works, which I didn't exactly know, but they have these bamboo poles that kind of sit up at an angle out of the water. And then they've got a little corded line down with a baited hook about 12 to 24 inches off the top of the water. And what they use for bait is kind of this nasty, rank, stinky chicken on a hook. And then if the alligator grabs that, the line drops off the pole, and then the end of that line is attached to an anchor tree. And then when you see your lines down, you know you can go check and see if you've got a gator. So that was the plan for day one. Go out, check the lines, see if we'd caught anything. So the first day while we were out checking lines, there was one line that was down, and we got super excited, got all ready to go, and pulled it up, and the bait had just been stolen. So we ended up going back to the mule to get a piece of rank, nasty, rancid, stinky chicken that they use for baiting these hooks. And we went back out, and so we got back out through this marshy area, and we actually set that line and got the hook back on there, and got to get the pole all set back up and see how that was done. And then we went and checked a couple other lines, and none of those baits had been taken, but we knew that we still had a second day to check lines. The gators actually typically feed overnight, so we're making sure that all the lines are set, baits on them, and ready for the next day. So we're just checking on a couple other properties and ponds and things like that to see if there was any other bait down. And Ethan and Tim spotted this giant alligator up on the bank. And I looked at it, and distances and size and binoculars and all those things can be very deceiving. So we actually were like, okay. So he wasn't caught on any of the hooks. He was just sunning himself, warming up in the sun. So we're like, okay, we're gonna put the stock on him. Have this little rifle. It's a little 17 HMR. And so Tim goes over where I need to aim, where I need to shoot on an alligator from the top or from the side. So on the top, you gotta go just ahead of his scoots, but behind this really hard bony plate. So there's like this little place in the middle there. You gotta go right there in the soft spot. Or if they're from the side, the profile, you have to go behind their smile. So I'm like, okay, I got this. So we stock up, we kind of get through the woods. We're about 50 yards away, and he kind of has been moving and kind of changing position since we first saw him. So I gotta wait until he clears behind some lilies so I can see him better. And then he's quartered a little bit differently than I had been prepared for. So Tim's explaining exactly where I need to put this shot on this alligator, which it's important. These alligators have really tough hides, really strong bones and cartilage systems. So getting the shot in the right spot, super important. And literally in the time that it took us to get that figured out, he slipped into the water and escaped. I was super disappointed in myself. I almost was beating myself up going, why didn't you take that shot? Why didn't you just shoot? You knew where you were supposed to shoot. And hindsight being 2020, we will talk about why I'm glad I didn't take that shot. That was kind of the end of checking lines and seeing that gator and not having an opportunity. So we went back to the farm, had dinner, hung out with Tim and his family, and then the next morning it was, let's go check those lines because these gators have hopefully been hungry and eating overnight. When we got back, we could see that one of the lines was down near where we had spotted that really big alligator the night before. My heart's racing, Tim's heart's racing, Ethan's heart's racing, Aiden's oblivious because he's a little kid and has no idea what's going on. And Tim's kids were great and very helpful, hanging on to Aiden while we're getting prepared to pull this line up and see what we've got. There's a very good chance that that alligator that we saw the day before is on that line. Because alligators are pretty territorial, so there's not a very good chance that there's a lot of little gators hanging around with that big guy. So Tim started pulling a little bit on the line, and you could tell that there was quite a bit of resistance against that line. So we actually ended up tying a second safety line to it so that if he started fighting and thrashing and got away from them and somehow broke the anchor tree, depending on how big he is, he would be attached to a second anchor tree. So Ethan and Tim are pulling this alligator out of the swamp, out of the water, and I'm trying not to be super nervous because I don't even know what this is gonna look like, an alligator coming out of the water at me. And I've only ever seen alligators on TV. I don't even think I've seen one in the zoo. And so I'm like, not sure what this is gonna be, and it comes out and it's just kind of thrashing around, and Tim says, settle down, just wait until he settles and gives you a chance to take your shot. So he kind of settles, and I take my shot, and I don't kill him. It just made that alligator mad. And he starts thrashing around and rolling around and throwing a fit even more. Then he comes out and we pull him up a little bit further, but he's at a different angle, so now I have to shoot him behind the smile. Again, I take a shot, he does not go down, and then has another opportunity, and at this point with that scope rifle and just being off with the elevations and also the closeness of the shot, we decided I'm gonna just reach out with this rifle, get the barrel as close to the top of his head in that soft spot that I need to, and then pull the trigger. And guess what, folks? That's what did him in. I got that shot off. He started doing his rolls and he started sinking. So I'm glad, hindsight being 2020, that I hadn't taken that shot the day before because I probably wouldn't have killed him then either, and he would have escaped and not been in a mood to eat that night. Now the hard part, and the fun part, I guess, if you will, for me at least, because I just got to watch this happen, Ethan and Tim had to drag this giant alligator out of the water. So they pulled him up on shore, which was about all they could manage, the two of them, pulling this thing up on shore. It was giant. As soon as the water stopped helping him float, he got heavy really fast. We didn't have, obviously, a measurement or a size on it at this point, just it looked big. So we get it pulled out, and then we ended up using the winch for the mule to get it pulled up all the way because it was a fairly steep incline and a giant alligator. We got to take some really cool pictures, and the longer they get, the wider they get. So this thing looked like a prehistoric monster. And then we also still had all of the rest of the lines that we had to check because we had 2 tags, 1 gator was harvested, but we have to check all the rest of the lines and pull any of the ones that don't have an alligator on them. So we go out and we start checking lines, and we see that most of them are still up, and then there's another one down. This one though we had to get to by boat. So first I had an opportunity to get an alligator from the shore. Now I'm gonna get an opportunity to get an alligator from a boat, which is a different situation altogether. So we get up there and it was pretty shallow water, so you could see this guy thrashing around and splashing around before we even got there. He was not a happy camper about being caught. So we get up there and he's a big alligator, but not quite as big as the first guy that we got. Tim actually got in the swamp, which, you know, that is one thing to do. I don't know if I would have been jumping in the water with an alligator. And him and Ethan were helping pull that alligator up close enough so I could reach out, take that shot. And I get in position because I'm gonna do what I did on the last alligator, get as close as possible and take that shot. So we got him close. I leaned over the edge of the boat, took my shot, was so excited, a little tipsy boat, and I almost fell out of the boat. Thank goodness I didn't. But we got that all squared away. The alligator did its rollover. He was Dundee. And now it's a matter of taping up his mouth to make sure that he doesn't actually get a chance, which we had to do on that first alligator too, so that when they are potentially having any last minute spasms, they're not gonna accidentally chomp you with those giant teeth. And then we were trying to get it in the boat. And as we're getting it in the boat, the tail goes whack and about gets me in the face. I'm mud from head to toe, which was kind of a cool experience as well, a little intense. And this was a big alligator, but it looked like a baby next to the one that we had just got. So we get back up to shore and we get that gator loaded in the back of the ATV. We're pulling poles because now we've had harvested 2 alligators, which is all that we had tags for. So we're pulling poles and pulling bait because we don't need to catch any more alligators. So we're doing that, checking more lines, no more alligators till we get to this last pond, which we have to check from the bank. And there's another line down. And there were some other lines down throughout that process, but the bait had actually just been stolen off the lines. They were slack, and the bait had just been taken. So we pulled those poles as well, but this last pole, you could see there was tension on the line, so there was most likely an alligator on there. So Tim walks me through what I'm gonna have to do to get this alligator off the line. You don't just like untie the rope and say, "See you later, alligator." Haha, see what I did there? He said, what we need to do is we need to pull this alligator up and you're going to reach as close as you can to the end of his nose and you're gonna take this knife and you're gonna just and cut the line. I'm like, okay, easier said than done. So then they don't have that excessive rope hanging out of their mouth or anything like that. And alligators' stomach acids and juices are so corrosive, so disgusting, that they're just gonna dissolve that hook and it's not gonna cause any problems to release that alligator. But they're pulling this alligator out, no idea how big or small it's gonna be at this point, and I have to reach down and snick the line right in front of its nose, and I'm like, what is this alligator gonna do? Is he gonna thrash around? Is he gonna freak out? Is he gonna try and chomp at me? I don't know. So they're starting to pull in this line. It doesn't feel as hard to pull in as that giant alligator or that other alligator, so I'm hoping for a little bit smaller alligator because I can't imagine trying to reach down and snick the line off of a 10-foot alligator. So they get him pulled up, he's a little bit smaller, I reach out, I get close, and I cut that line, and definitely it was a rating of how brave I felt that day because it was a rush to reach out that close to an alligator and just cut the line off the end of their nose. So we did it, got him loose, he was fine, got back to the farm, took some more measurements, and that second alligator was actually 8 foot 3 inches, which is still a giant alligator. I'm pretty sure it's bigger than the one Ethan got down in Louisiana back in the day. And so you saw these 2 alligators next to each other, almost 11 foot and just over 8 foot, and the size difference, because the longer they get, the wider they get, and that second alligator almost could fit inside that first alligator. It was incredible, it was amazing. And then when they were taken to the taxidermist, because we're gonna get some cool alligator hide and a really cool Euro mount skull and the meat and everything we're really excited for. It's gonna take a while to get all that done and processed, but they took them in and were able to get official measurements done there, and that first alligator was actually 10 foot 10 inches, which is just shy of an 11-foot alligator. It was giant. So, for my first time alligator hunting, it was an amazing experience. I'm so glad we had the opportunity to go down. Thank you so much to Tim and his family for the invite and for being such amazing hosts. It was an experience we will definitely never forget.